Okay. Welcome to Blackout's Box. This is Blackout. And this is a review of The Rise of Skywalker and more importantly, how Disney completely destroyed Star Wars. They destroyed it. They absolutely destroyed it. And you have to question why. Why? I'm not going off a script. I'm not even going. I have a couple points I want to make, but I'm just doing this off the cuff. I watched Jesus, The Rise of Skywalker. It doesn't even feel right to say that. That title shouldn't be named that. That pisses people off more. And what they did, excuse me, in the film it is absolutely the worst of all of the Star Wars movies. And that's not to say that it's the most boring or that it doesn't have good visuals or that it doesn't have some good direction. I mean, I hate the Phantom Menace. I think that the Phantom Menace is like taking a sleeping pill. I don't think these sequels, because of how bad they are, the Disney sequels, make the prequels good. I can't stand the Phantom Menace. I can't stand Attack of the Clones. I can partially, like with a grain of salt, deal with Revenge of the Sith. I can deal with that, even though I think it looks like it was made on an Xbox from 2001. But let's get into how they destroyed it. I think Mark Hamill really, he really was the one who described it best. And he's also one of the reasons why it was so destroyed. Not him directly, but because of how he was in it and how he was not in it. If they had made a completely new Star Wars saga and hadn't tried to connect it at all to the Skywalker one and tried to make it like, if they hadn't called The Force Awakens Star Wars 7, we wouldn't be arguing this. We would just Star Wars 7. You'd like it or you hate it, and they just make a completely new story. But no, they wanted. We're gonna make nine, the full nine trilogy, 3 trilogies. We're gonna do it. We're gonna finish it, and they decided to do that, and they screwed it up in so many ways. They had the opportunity, and Mark Hamill, he's tweeted out so many times and said so many times and tried to warn. And I'm sure he got burned by Disney and he got whipped and bashed, and we all know that he got in trouble for coming out against The Last Jedi. But I'll go as far as to say The Last Jedi, as much as I hate it, it's the best out of the three. It's the best out of the 3 sequel trilogies, because as much as I hate it and it totally destroyed everything, I would never watch The Force Awakens again. It's boring. I don't care about Rey. I don't care about Finn. I don't care about Poe. They're not constructed. They tried and make new characters. And they said, "Oh, we gotta go young. We can't use these old guys and have Mark Hamill as Luke and Harrison Ford as Han running around and Carrie Fisher. We can't do that. The kids are gonna want someone new." But they completely miscalculated. That even kids were shown by their parents the original trilogy, and the original trilogy actually built a story arc. It's not the newest story arc ever, but you know what? It adhered to a certain mythos of the hero's journey and the hero with 1,000 faces and subconscious things and a space fantasy. It's not the best written thing in the world, but the magic came together and it worked in such a way, and the actors were good. And, even George Lucas, he's not a great director, but he had the thing in his head. He had the idea in his head. He had the world in his head, and he made it happen. And a lot of it were people next to him, and then people editing under him. And before he became all powerful and no one could challenge him, because I don't listen. I don't think that these sequels, how bad they are the worst. I don't think they make the prequels better. It doesn't make the prequels better. The prequels are bad. They're bad. The Phantom Menace is beautiful looking, but you can't describe one character in there. They're all monotone. They might as well just be just like one person speaking. Like one. You ever watch a YouTube video and you go into one of those? It's just these automated, computer-generated computer voices that. And then he said that this, and then that, blah, 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 blah. The best thing you can do is take grapefruit and put it in your... That's how I felt the Phantom Menace was. It was just like, you could not describe a character. And Red Letter Media came to fame from that, from mocking the Phantom Menace. I think it was more popular than the movie. Red Letter Media's take... It was longer than the movie on how badly the Phantom Menace was done. But at least it was still Star Wars. At least it was still dealing with characters that we knew. I don't think it makes it better. Let's just center on the original trilogy, and let's just go down to what Disney bought from Lucas. Lucas was tired. He was done. He didn't want to do it anymore. He got very sour from doing the prequel trilogy, and people hating it and hating Jar Jar and hating. I think at that point he was just too powerful. He had too many yes men around him, and he didn't have other people challenging him, or he didn't have a proper feedback loop, a proper feedback cycle. I think he still had some really great ideas. He just didn't implement them well. And so to me, and also he was just so set on the CGI. The first total CGI movie was Attack of the Clones, and I can't watch it. It looks like a bad video game, and I can't watch even Revenge of the Sith. Come on, man! Look at the lava and the jumping and all the green screening. It looks terrible. I don't care if you like the story or not. It looks terrible. And his whole thing had been, George Lucas's whole thing had been that special effects are for the telling of the story. Special effects shouldn't be the means of the story. Like, oh, I can do this, therefore let me make a story out of this special effect. No, it should be, I have a story, oh, I imagine this in the story, how can I do it? And that's why the original Star Wars trilogy, the OT trilogy, Star Wars, I hate calling it A New Hope, Star Wars, Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi were so fantastic, because he was really just conquering things. He didn't know how to do it. And he didn't have all the computer stuff to do it. And so he had to make it work and he had a ton of people in the ring with him battling to make it work. And it did. And he deserves all the credit for that. Even though he only directed the first movie. Most people don't know that. Most people think George Lucas directed everything. He directed Star Wars, and then he produced Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Jedi. Personally, I like Return of the Jedi. I know people hate it. They think Empire Strikes Back is the best. And I can understand. But the snow, it's just too much white snow and bad green screening, even the digital remaster. And I like seeing Mark Hamill when he actually came to fruition, when he became a Jedi. I realize the Ewoks, and there's some parts in there that people don't like, but for me, and also I think it was the first one I actually saw in the theater. I'm too young to have seen Star Wars or Empire Strikes Back. But Return of the Jedi, I think I saw it in the theater. No, I know I saw it in the theater. I remember it. So, Giving that history on me, let's go to how Disney totally screwed. They just, oh my god, how badly did they screw this? They just, and I knew they screwed it when I watched the Force Awakens. A lot of people love the Force Awakens, and I didn't get it because I hated the Force Awakens. But I thought, maybe there's promise because of how it ended, and Luke was there looking majestic, and I'm like, maybe the second movie they'll save themselves. I didn't like it. It was just Star Wars, which is now called A New Hope, regurgitated with cardboard characters. I didn't like Rey, didn't like Finn, I didn't like Poe. Nothing against the actors, I just didn't like. It was written poorly. They're cardboard cutouts. They're still cardboard cutouts. They've been cardboard cutouts throughout the entire sequel trilogy. And the Rise of Skywalker is the worst. And even to title it that, oh my god, what are you thinking? To title it that, you just want to piss people off. Skywalker is Luke. When you say Skywalker, people think Luke. It's just what they think. And he's not rising in that movie. Except for the Force goes too late, buddy. There are so many ways they could have gone with this movie. They took this movie and a bunch of board members. Excuse me. They took the property of Lucasfilm Star Wars when Lucas sold it. Lucas didn't want to do the other three. Sadly. He was bitter and he was getting older. And hey, $4.5 billion or whatever he made on that, that's ridiculous. $1 billion is 1,000 million. That's 4,000 million. That's ridiculous. But hey, you know what? Whatever. He sold it. And Disney if they had the money to buy it, they have all the resources in the world to make the best movie ever. And they had access. They had a magical period where they had access to all the original actors. And they should have given this the respect that they gave that Star Trek was given. Star Trek, the original cast. They got up to movie 6 with the same cast. Now, half of those movies, yeah, they're kind of turd burglars. Star Trek 1 is just kind of boring and slow, and they're staring at a screen and a bunch of gas and V'ger, and it's more of a thing you put on the background to go to sleep than you really actively watch. It's done in the style of 2001. But it was like, oh, Star Trek's back. Star Trek's back. Everyone loves Star Trek. So, and Star Trek is also a little bit more heady, a little bit more thoughtful than I would say Star Wars is. They're different. They're different. I really don't want to compare the two too much. But Disney buys Star Wars from Lucas. And what they should have done is treated it like Star Trek. Star Trek went on Star Trek 6. They went out, the original cast, they were way older than the cast of Star Wars. I don't remember how old everybody is, but I know like Bones was literally like Bones, and Leonard Nimoy was old, and William Shatner was. But you know what? It went out on a high note. They all signed their names at the end titles. Nicholas Meyer, who had directed Star Trek 2, took the helm of Star Trek 6. It seems to be that the even ones are the ones that people like, or the better reviewed ones. There's Star Trek 1, which is it's kind of like a sleeping pill. There's Star Trek 2, The Wrath of Khan, which is amazing and heartfelt, and it has that Spock death scene. And then there's Star Trek 3, The Search for Spock, which is, okay, duh. We know where that's going to go. It's kind of watching a movie called The Search for Spock. I wonder what's going to happen. Oh, they're going to find Spock. And then there's Star Trek 4, which is great. The Voyage Home. Star Trek 4 is really funny. A time travel movie. And it's really done well. Then there's Star Trek 5, which is bad, but for some reason I kind of still like it because it's about the family. It had a low budget and it didn't work, but I still like seeing the chemistry of that cast together because I like the characters. I love the characters so much that I can almost forgive a really bad movie. And that one William Shatner directed. And then Star Trek 6, Nicholas Meyer, who did Star Trek 2, comes back and he really sends them off in their last movie together in a really fitting and a good story, a good plot, a really good final movie. It's not my favorite of all of them. I would say Wrath of Khan is probably my favorite. And then 4 and then 6 in that order. And then 5 and then 1 and then 3, I guess. I get the Search for Spock just makes me cringe. Even though Christopher Lloyd is in it, Doc Brown's in Star Trek 3. I don't want to. I know I'm getting off course here, but my point is, if they had treated it with the respect of Star Trek, maybe they would have got somewhere. But they tried right off the bat. All right, right off the bat with The Force Awakens, we're gonna just create a new Darth Vader in Kylo Ren. And and you just can't. You can't do that. He's not Darth Vader. He's not menacing. He's not threatening. When I first saw it, I literally thought of Spaceballs. Because Kylo Ren's helmet was so redonkulous, so ridiculous, so big. I thought of Spaceballs. And I was like, are you kidding me? This big fat helmet with a cape over it, and this overdone. It was like Spaceballs mixed with oh my god, I can't think of it right now. With the Batman Bane character, Bane. The voice was all distorted. You take me to the rebel base, baby. It just was terrible. That voice and this big fat helmet with the robe. And it was just like, I cringed at it. I cringed at Rey. I cringed at Finn, which I think, Ron Boyega, who I think is a good actor. I think all the actors are good actors. It's just, I think they were given shit with his overacting. Even at one point in the movie, like Han Solo's like, calm it down. And then the phone-in performance by Harrison Ford, who doesn't care. He just wanted, what? Give me a paycheck, kid, and kill me. He just wanted to just be killed. And when he was killed, it just had no emotion. It had no feeling. And who cared? Who killed him? Who's Kylo? Oh, it's his son? Oh, yeah, okay. We know about that. We care about. Who cared? They just went about it in completely the wrong way. Now, people liked that movie. I didn't. But people liked that. And I thought, when they showed Luke at the end, I was like, oh, God, finally, here's Luke. He must have been frustrated. Mark Hamill must have been frustrated off his ass reading that. But I was... excuse me, I was like, oh, finally, they show Luke. And they should have started with they should have started that whole damn thing, The Force Awakens, with Luke, Han, Leia, Yoda, everybody together. They're older. You're showing what's going on, what's happening in between. They should have just started right there. And slowly and delicately and with careful writing, it brought in new characters and actually crafted them so that because it's the Skywalker saga. They either should have made a completely new movie and not called it, part 7. If they wanted to introduce these new characters, they should have not called it part 7. Or if they're going to call it part 7, they should have started right off the bat with Luke. He's a master. He's a Jedi master. And Han and Leia. And maybe they're all far apart. Maybe they're bitter. Honestly, you could have even started with Rian Johnson's The Last Jedi. You could have done that as the first movie. That would have been interesting. You could have started with Rey as this lost new Force person, and Luke is bitter, and this. If you started with that in the beginning, and then he comes back and Rey helped, you could have rewritten The Last Jedi and made that the first movie. Just completely ditched The Force Awakens because it wasn't needed. It's just filler. It was just fluff. It was just, people just liked it because it was a fan film. People just liked it because it was Star Wars again. People just liked it because like, oh my God, look, it's Han Solo. Oh my God, look, it's like Jawas and Sand People and the Millennium Falcon and Chewie and. But it wasn't a good movie, and the new characters weren't good. They weren't written well. Rey was a Mary Sue. Finn was an overacting. No, they could have done something with Finn. They could have done something with John Boyega. They could have maybe made that one stormtrooper who snaps out of the. It's almost like the Matrix. Like someone snaps out of their programming and sees the world for the first time. They could have done something with that, but they didn't. They introduced it, used it as an idea. That's a problem with Jar Jar Abrams or J.J. Abrams. He's very good at coming up with a bunch of crazy stuff, but he never fills it out. He never finishes it or satisfies you. It's the endless mystery box. He likes to call it, and that really wasn't what Star Wars was about. Star Wars was about a couple mystery things, and then they fulfilled themselves. So if they had started with The Last Jedi and maybe Luke was all hermity mode and this and that, and they didn't kill him off, and Rey kind of coaxed him back, or Luke and Leia coaxed him back, and they could have started there, then went to the second one, and had the old cast, the OT characters, fighting to help these noobs, and maybe develop some real characters, because they never did. That's the thing with this whole Rise of Skywalker ending. It's an ending of 9 films, and no, it's not, because these characters through 3 movies have not been developed. No one cares. They actually have not even been together They haven't been together until for the first 2 movies. And so you have a fluff movie that's just Star Wars fluff, and doesn't introduces Luke at the very last minute. And I think that's the only reason that it did well. People are like, "Oh, Star Wars is back, baby! Luke is there on the mountain." I think that's the only if Luke wasn't there, because Han didn't. I mean, Harrison Ford didn't care, and Han was kind of like in that movie. Even Leia was kind of in the movie. I mean, they should have had them all be there. Whatever circumstance they provided, they should have had them all be there in the first movie, and slowly built up characters, new characters, and handed the torch by the end, at the very end. And instead, we have these characters that we don't like, we don't care about. They're written poorly. Rey is just a Mary Sue who can do anything, and now she's supposed to be the savior. They undo Return of the Jedi. They undo Anakin. They undo what Rian Johnson undid. It's just a bunch of undoing and people going, no, no, yes, no, yes, no. It's like the old cartoon with like Daffy Duck and Bugs Bunny going, aha, aha, or I don't know if it's Daffy Duck and Porky Pig, and they're just flipping the door, aha, 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 stab, dodge, stab, parry, dodge, stab, ah. And it's just garbage. There's no plan. I can't believe that they spent $4.5 billion just acquiring, and then not to mention the money they spent on the movies. And then building the theme park, and a Star Wars theme park that doesn't have any Star Wars in it. That's just a mall without the characters that you love. Ridiculous. They should have just started with Luke, Leia, Han. If Han wanted to be out, okay, let Han die in the first, but start with them. And Luke wanted to be in, and that's what's funny is that Mark Hamill, I think, is the only reason that any of these movies worked. Any of them. If there was no original trilogy characters, and they had written these new characters exactly as they have so far in these 3 sequel movies, I just think it would have been garbage, bad ratings all the way through. Because it's poor. There is no build-up. Rey does not earn anything. She's just, I'm Supergirl. Finn, even though it's an interesting concept, they don't do anything with it. Poe's supposed to be the new Han Solo, and he really doesn't get anything to do, and then gets, he's, it's all these things are supposed to be, but they never be. They never are what they're supposed to be, what they were trying to fill in. And so we come to the Rise of Skywalker, where they're like, oh my God, and they know they have fucked up the train, they have smashed the bus, they have nothing left to pull out. Like, oh my God, we killed Luke. Ryan killed Luke. People hate the freaking movie. People hate The Last Jedi. And they don't hate it so much because it was a bad movie. It's just you can't just fuck. Because hate comes from love. Hate comes from love. You're not going to hate something. If you don't care about someone, if someone randomly calls you who you don't know and goes, listen you. I don't know you, but I'm never going to talk to you again. You're not going to hate. You're going to go, okay, fine. But they took something that people loved, and not just old people, not just like, what they tried to make out. Oh, it's a bunch of old man babies who won't let a new generation take over, and they just want to see the same old characters. No, they didn't respect the legacy. They didn't respect the story. They didn't respect what made Star Wars. And they wrote these cheapy, one-dimensional, cardboard cutout characters that, unless you're like a few years old or completely blinded by spectacle, which I don't think people are anymore. Spectacle's so easy to do now with computers and CGI and even real sets. It's just so easy to do. I mean, we've seen every single fight combination possible. I'm not even a big fan of The Mandalorian. People are like, oh, they're doing the right thing with The Mandalorian. Mandalorian to me is like, it's John Wick. It's Boba Fett, John Wick generic. It's all action oriented, and it's got some stuff. It's kind of set in the so Star Wars fans see the things they like, but I don't think it's that amazing. And it's got Baby Yoda in it, which, it's like, oh, we need something like we need a Mogwai in there. We need a gremlin. Let's get that, like a little Mogwai. That'll make everyone happy. We'll do Baby Yoda. He'll be so cute. And it's better, that it's damn better than the sequel trilogies, but they just screwed it up. They screwed it up, and Rise of Skywalker is so awful because there was nowhere to go. They screwed the pooch so badly, and you can blame it all on Rian Johnson, but I don't think you can blame it all on him. I think The Last Jedi is the worst, but I'll tell you this. I hated The Last Jedi, but I would watch it again because I liked watching Mark Hamill's performance even under the crappy situation, and I hated how they treated Luke, and I hate what he did, and I hate what he wrote. I don't like the movie that he made, but I think it had Mark Hamill in it for the most amount of time, and he's an excellent actor. And it had Luke, and I watched Luke, even though it was a Luke that I didn't like. And there's no reason for me to play The Force Awakens again. What the hell would I ever watch that for? For what? To watch the Millennium Falcon and Rey just have crest white strips on her teeth, and in the desert she's a nobody, she's nowhere, and they all have the whitest teeth ever, and they're just running around doing nothing, and Han Solo doesn't want to be there. His death doesn't mean anything. Darth Vader is just, again, he's Kylo Ren now, and he's got the head of a Darth helmet from a parody. It's just ridiculous. It's a parody. It's a fan fiction. They could have done so much good. They would have treated it like Star Trek and given the original cast the first movie and slowly built up Rey and really built it. Because I think the actors are all capable. It's just the writing and the fact that they had no overall plan, overall arc. And so the Rise of Skywalker, even with their paid shills, these people that they handpicked to come out and come to the movie, and they're like, okay, well, we're going to pay and put them in a 4-star hotel and give them caviar and wine and champagne, and they'll just be caught up in the hype and all the fan service, and they're certainly going to write a good review because they want to be included in further things. They don't want to say anything bad. I think that's what happened with The Last Jedi, because I don't believe that 95% score got on Rotten Tomatoes or anything. I think that in bull. I think it was people just wanting to keep their access and keep Disney happy. I think subconsciously it was, I don't know if Disney directly said, listen, you want to keep your access, better write something good, and write something bad, you might not be invited back. I don't think they directly did that, but it was equal to like payola. And so we get to the Rise of Skywalker, and how dare to name that when Skywalker had just died and you'd ruined him in The Last Jedi, and you'd name the next movie The Rise of Skywalker, thinking, oh, this'll fix it. Maybe they'll think Luke's coming back. And it's just a convoluted mess. J.J. Abrams just tries, and I understand the hate. Because people who hate something, they had to love it first. You just go out and hate something. I mean, some people do. There's haters on things they don't like, but generally things you don't like, you don't read. Like, you go to do a book or something that you don't like, or a movie or a TV show, you're like, it's like changing the channel. Meh. Especially now with the internet and everything we have access to, there's a billion things you could watch that you like. If you don't like something, you just switch to something you like. But that's the problem with Star Wars. People loved it so much that they wanted to find something that they loved, and they couldn't. They felt mad, and so they got angry, and anger got them. They wanted to express it. You can't take something that people love and just totally screw it and not expect a backlash. And then when the backlash came, they didn't listen. They just tried to say, oh, a bunch of babies, it's just a movie, blah 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 blah. So Rise of Skywalker has it is a dumpster fire. It is a trash fest. It is there's nothing left to watch because we don't care about Rey, Finn, Poe, Kylo. We don't care about these characters now that they're supposed to have the chemistry that the original trilogy had. They're supposed to be like Han, Luke, and Leia, and they haven't even been together. Those three were together the whole movie, and you know, all they have to throw in with them is C-3PO and R2-D2 and Chewie, and that's not gonna fix. It's not gonna make it work. And all the fan service and all the references and all the clamoring and all the like, okay, we'll erase the Last Jedi and we'll just shove in as much garbage like as we can, and the Emperor Palpatine's back, and we'll make it this epic thing ending, and maybe we can win some fans back. And no, you can't. So, for those of you who wonder why people get so angry and they write these scathing reviews of the sequel trilogy, Disney screwed the pooch. They fucked it up. They fucked it, and really, they fucked something up that was. It could have been so easy to make something great. If they just would have brought the original cast back. I know this is the eighth time I'm saying it, and showed us some of what's gone on since the end of the honored the end of the original trilogy, Return of the Jedi, which they destroyed because guess what? No, Anakin he didn't kill the Emperor. Luke didn't do anything. They're all wimps, but Rey, she's the best. Even though we haven't shown it, she hasn't trained, she hasn't done anything. We just say she is. She's the best, and she is the only one who can defeat a person who was already dead. And it's just a dumpster fire. It's just terrible, and it deserves the low score. And it also explains why people get so mad about it. I can't even believe that I'm doing this long of a rant on it, but I wanted to get it out because I didn't like any of the sequels, and I hated what Rian Johnson did with The Last Jedi. But I could watch The Last Jedi again because I'll watch Mark Hamill's performance, and I enjoy seeing him on screen. It's kind of like how certain actors, you just like they're on screen and you enjoy their chemistry. I hate what he's doing. I hate how he's written, but he still executes it well. And I think the entire thing is summed up with the move that he makes when Kylo comes and commands that they fire every single. I want every weapon fired on that man now. And it's just, there's just every weapon is blowing up, and missiles and lasers and bombs and this and that. And Luke just comes, and it would have been so great if it was really Luke and he was just some super powerful Jedi, not this hologram, or even if he used the hologram, but he didn't die. If they could have done it, they just fucked it. Rian Johnson fucked it, but then again, so J.J. Abrams fucked it too, and Kathleen Kennedy fucked. They just did. They all fucked it. They screwed it up. They fucked it. They could have done so well. But that's what's so funny is it would have been so easy to do such good, and they fucked it so badly. How do you get something where you could have made something so amazing and fuck it so badly? And you end on this movie and you name it The Rise of Skywalker. You name the third film The Rise of Skywalker. Rey is not a fucking Skywalker. She's actually the opposite. She's Palpatine now. She's the grand, and they're gonna call the movie Rise of Skywalker, and you're gonna expect people to be happy about it, even if you don't know the movies. You have no idea what's going on, so the fan service doesn't make sense. It's just another action movie with endless battles and CGI that people are dull to and numb to. And if you do know about Star Wars and the original trilogy, you're already pissed off. from what's happened in the first two movies to you're not attached to these new characters, and even if you are attached to these new characters, they undo. If you didn't like the old characters, they undo what. Oh my! There's just so much. What's it called? Retconning and retreading and backtracking and just trying to shove as much shit as you can into a fucking movie with no explanation, just exposition up there. It's like, here's the answer to this. And Rey is the best ever. She ever was. Rey is the best. And then let's do a Return of the Jedi part 2, fireworks, Rey, yay, go, and it doesn't work, and no one buys it, and the people who do buy it, I mean, you have the right to buy it, but it's dumb. I would recommend to anyone, just go, there's a chain of theaters that it looks like a bay, and the theater is shaped like a pirate ship. I'd recommend you just watch the movie there if you're curious. Don't give Disney money for this movie. And that's why people who love Star Wars are happy to see this fail. Normally, I think anyone who wastes time on hating something, I think you're an idiot. You're wasting your time. But I get where the hate comes for this. They just screwed Star. They destroyed it. They destroyed Star Wars. They could have done it good, but they didn't. And Rise of Skywalker is a piece of garbage. And it's the first piece of garbage where the critics that Disney paid to come out for free and see said it was a piece of garbage. And I think the audience is going to agree that it's a piece of garbage. There might be a couple things if you don't care at all and you just like to see things blow up and horses ride on spaceships, but it's just another sci-fi movie with cardboard characters. It's not Star Wars. It's not Star Wars because it tried so hard to be Star Wars after they fucked and screwed Star Wars in its bunghole. And that's my review. I don't think I'm going to fill this out with pictures and everything. I might, but it's just too much. And I don't want to sit here editing 90 hours of pictures that might get copyright strikes. So there's my review. Let me know what you think. Please subscribe. I'm not really usually a movie review channel. I'm usually doing original stuff. But subscribe. All that stuff that you have to say. Hit the bell. Ring the bell. Subscribe. Check out the Patreon if you'd like to support. Or throw a couple bucks for coffee or beer via PayPal. Or don't. But yeah, mostly I'd like to hear what you think. Because I just think they could have done so well. They had the golden goose. They had the Midas touch. And they just so screwed it. They destroyed Star Wars. At least they destroyed the Skywalker saga. And, maybe in a couple years they launch some other character or whatever. And it's still got Star Wars-y themes to it. But how would they keep it Star Wars and not just another sci-fi movie? I don't know. Because Galaxy's Edge is what's Galaxy's Edge going to be now? Everyone's dead and stupid and they don't have the original characters in there. It's like, what's the point? Alright, I'm just getting bitter now. Just leave your messages. Love you all. Love, light, kindness, creativity, abundance, laughter to everyone. And that's my rant. Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Lowest score on Rotten Tomatoes ever from critics. And probably the audience score will be the lowest ever too. Unless Disney hires 1 million people to go in there. Fandango is kind of Disney controlled. It's a former Disney employee. So, I'm sure they're doing some sort of damage control. I'm amazed it's at 54% or 57% as I look at it now. And I hate to put this much time. It is something that I hate, but just had to get it out. And that's it. I'm done. I don't think I'm going to say any more about Star Wars. They fucked it. They screwed it. The Rise of Skywalker is a dumpster fire. It's a train that ran into a dumpster. It's a train wreck that ran into a dumpster that a jet fell on, that blew up a building, that a terrorist pooped on. It is just a pile of flaming garbage. And it could have been so wonderful, could have been so nice, could have been so beautiful. And they just screwed it.